Hey there. So, my next guest is going for his master's degree in business administration, and he's really focusing in on esports, like laser focused on esports. He's been in it for a couple years, but he knows where he wants to go. And he's actually working with an esports organization now, kind of doing some sales. And it's kind of this interesting dichotomy of, gamer and sales and school and esports, like all together. I know you're all going to love this one. Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Gamerpreneur podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Bradford Carlton. Today, I have a very special guest with us. I have Tom Screech. Hey there, Tom. How's it going?
Hey, it's great to be here. How are you? I'm doing great.
Well, it's a beautiful sunny day in Las Vegas. How about yourself?
Yeah, I didn't know you were in Las Vegas, actually. It is. So I live down in kind of rural Maryland on the little bit on the other side of the Chesapeake. And it's a sunny day down here, but we have just had about 3 days of snow. So it's okay down here. We're doing all right.
Well, that's a beautiful part of the country.
Yeah, it's very flat, but it's very nice. Very
Absolutely,
nice.
And definitely don't speed in that part of the country too.
No. I have been pulled over doing 35 and a 30, and it was when I first moved here, and the cop ran my license, which is an English license, and he was like, how do I run this license? There's no driver's number that fits our system. I got off with a warning doing 5 miles over, but the road was empty, I will say.
There you go. All right, Tom. So I like to get the show started just getting right into it. So why don't you begin by just telling a little bit about yourself, please?
Yeah. So my name is obviously Tom. I'm the director of business development at Philly Esports, but I guess more into me, I'm English, living in America. I've moved over here a couple years ago to study a master's degree in, I guess the degree title is like leadership and management business administration. So it's one of those long ones, but I just call it business. When people ask me what it is, it's just business. It covers everything. I was born in kind of almost the exact middle of England, in a town called Coventry, and I grew up in a place called Plymouth, which some Americans may recognize that name because that is where the Pilgrims left on the Mayflower and then sailed all the way over to Plymouth, Massachusetts. So my hometown has a real big kind of connection with America. So we've always had Americans. We had a shared naval base for some time, and you'd always know when the Americans were in town because a big ship would arrive, and then about at 2 a.m. you'd just hear USA, USA as all the sailors were letting loose. So I've kind of been indoctrinated into American culture at a young age. So I've been living here for about 18 months now and really enjoying it. And one of the big passions of my life is esports and gaming, and it's taken me through many cool, really interesting parts so far.
All right,
that's kind of me in a nutshell. Yeah,
beautiful. Now I will have to ask later. I have a couple questions before we get to it.
Sure.
But how does an Englishman living in Maryland do Philly Esports? So we'll get there.
I know it's an interesting question. I do a lot of outreach for Philly Esports, and one of the first things I go is, "Oh, you're not from Philly?" And I go, "Well, actually, I don't even live in Philly. I'm about like an hour and a half down from Philly." So yeah, it's always an interesting topic.
All right, but before we get there, I start every interview with a single question. You said you watched a couple of my episodes, so you kind of know what this one is.
Yep.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being high, how weird are you, Tom?
How weird am I? That's a great question. I'm pretty weird. I have a lot of niche memes that I reference a lot of the time that people don't get, and then I have awkward conversations of having to explain things. I'd put myself at a good 7 or 8. I will talk about almost anything to everyone. I will watch anything. I will listen to anything. I indulge myself on anything. I'm a good weird. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm a good weird.
I love it. Okay. So this is the Gamerpreneur podcast. I do need your gaming cred. When did you first start playing video games?
So I first started, so I was born in 1995, and I first started playing in around the year 2000. I remember my granddad, I remember this really clear. My granddad had just bought home a PC because he used to work for Ericsson. So he was one of the first people working on the microchip when they were working on it up then. He brought a PC back from his trips, and it had worms on it. And I remember him sat there with my grandma looking over his shoulder. And of course, my grandma is a farmer's wife through and through. She always wears her apron. She's always baking something. She always is tending to other people. And she sat there looking over her shoulder at this game going, oh, what's this? Oh, you can't, poor things, really empathizing with it. And there's me, little 5-year-old Tom, just like eyes wide open, staring at the screen going, this is amazing. And I started by playing Worms, and then eventually that's when kind of my love for PC games exploded, really. I got onto playing old versions of basically any game that's out now. My main kind of love for gaming, like where I really fell in love with it, was RuneScape, of all games. I played the classic version when it came out, and then I played RuneScape 2. I still have the same account now. I haven't played for a few months, but my last kind of big achievement in RuneScape was 99 agility, which I'm super proud of because that's just a lot of clicking.
I have to say, I didn't know people still played RuneScape.
I don't really still play it. It's like I have to put an asterisk on it. I just have the account and I just play a couple hours here and there if I need something to do. But I've been a gamer all my life. I started out on the PS2. That was kind of my first console that my mum got me. And then I have a younger brother as well, and him and I had to share an Xbox 360. And I don't know if you have any siblings or people you've had to share game consoles with, but we had a full rota printed out on the door, exactly when I got to play on the Xbox and exactly when my little brother got to play. Eventually, we kind of moved into more PC gaming. And I guess kind of my big game love is World of Warcraft. I still play that. I'm an Alliance player.
Yes.
My brother's been Horde, but every expansion I convinced my brother to make an Alliance character. So yeah, I've got a at the moment I have a level 60 Void Elf, 60 Druid, and a Death Knight. So I'm all up in World of Warcraft right now.
How are you enjoying the Shadowlands?
I'm enjoying it a lot. It's the community at the moment feels like the best it's ever really felt. Everyone's kind of pulling together and raiding and yeah, the story's great. Absolutely great. Love
Beautiful. All right, playing anything else today, or is it Warcraft?
Warcraft's the main thing, just because I'm really busy and it's an easy game to log on, just do a couple quick things and log out. I'm starting to play Apex Legends more. However, I've realized that every game that is a multiplayer shooter now has a hidden MMR. So here I am winning games that I think I'm really good, and then I play with my friends that are much better than me, and I'm losing and can't land a shot. So it's a constant up and down confidence battle on that game. Apex is kind of another game I'm playing, and WoW is definitely my main time sink with gaming right now.
All right, so you started looking at video games in '95. Been playing till today. If you had to pick one game as your all-time favorite, which one is it?
That's a great question.
And it seems to be such a difficult question for people. My go-to is either Super Mario RPG, Legend of Seven Stars, or Chrono Trigger.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of if there's a game that I only had to choose to play ever again. Okay, I'll give you two answers. My favorite all-time game is World of Warcraft. It has to be, just because I've spent so much time in it. But if I could play a game again for the first time, it would honestly be Jedi Fallen Order, Star Wars, the most kind of recent story one. I absolutely love that. I played it to 100%, which is very rare for me to do. And it was a brilliant game. And if I could play that again for the first time, I would. So there's your two answers.
Which means you're probably really good on those counters.
Yeah, only in that game. I can't play Dark Souls to save my life.
All right, Tom, let's kind of switch over to the preneur part now. You work with Philly Esports, and you're still in school?
Yeah, master's degree. So I'm on my last semester now. Classes actually started a couple weeks ago. So yeah, last semester, and then I graduate in May, which would be great.
Okay. Do you have a background in esports or gaming that kind of got you here, or was it just something you fell into?
So gaming's always been a big part of my life. And when I was growing up, it was always, I want to make video games. I want to be like every kid when they hit 13, I wanted to be a YouTuber. So I'd upload like Road to 99 cooking videos on YouTube and think that I was becoming famous, and quickly realized that, oh, you can't just upload a grainy video on Hypercam 2 and it'll get you big and famous. So I was like, I don't know, I'll make video games. So I downloaded Unity, one of the first ones when it came out, and immediately was like, oh, I'm no good at this. I need to learn it. So I went to university back home at Plymouth. I went to the University of Plymouth and did a degree in digital art and technology. And in that degree, they let you choose a specialization. So mine was in game design. So for the 3 years that I was there, I basically did full game design with a couple other coding and 3D modeling bits. And I kind of fell into the producer project manager role. And something that I was watching at the time was when League of Legends had just started producing the LCS, or the ELCS back when it was in Europe. I remember watching that. I was like, man, I want to make video games that people can play competitively. So all of our projects are at uni were always kind of those multiplayer games, playing against other people, trying to figure out how you could make it into a sport. And almost every game I've made with my friends, we were like, you've got to be multiplayer. It's got to be some sort of esports. So when I was looking for work, kind of once I left university, it was always esports was in my head. I want to be in the industry somehow. And then doing this degree now up in Baltimore, I've always had a specialization for esports. So we do like fake marketing proposals, and we work through fake clients, and it's mine have always been esports. Everyone else is healthcare, and I'm sat there with the video game people.
All right. So please tell me why an Englishman who lives in Maryland, who goes to school in Baltimore, is working with Philly Esports.
It's a good question. So for one of my courses this year, I had to interview an industry expert. And I was like, okay, great, networking opportunity. So I went on LinkedIn and just typed esports and just started connecting with people. And one of the guys I connected with was Tom Panico, who's the former VP of Philly Esports. And we had an interview. I interviewed him. We had a great chat. And at the end of it, he was like, well, hey, do you want to come help us out with business development and work with us? And I was like, sure. Perfect. That's absolutely brilliant. So I did that and quickly kind of fell into the role of leading the business development and being really a core part of the Philly Esports team. Yeah.
Okay.
That's your answer.
Beautiful. What does business development mean for those people out there who don't know what that means?
Yeah. So business development, it's a real kind of overarching term. Essentially, I've boiled it down to meaning anything that pushes the company forward. So at the moment, my role includes like new program development. So working with our director of operations to create new proposals, or basically just recruiting, cold calling. So my main task recently was recruiting for the Aces League that we have on. We had our opening night on Tuesday. We have our Smash opening night tonight. Tonight. And so my main job was recruiting in new colleges, recruiting in new sponsors, new partners. Anything that really expands the network of a business is business development.
Okay. Now, you just mentioned cold calling, which is one of those phrases that generally Americans, they run screaming out the room if they have to do that. So what is that like? How's that going for you?
Do you know what? It's a 50-50 bag. I have the added benefit of being English in America. So when I ring up people and talk to them, they're immediately like, oh, this guy sounds interesting because he doesn't have just a normal accent. Like I said to you before we got recording, I've always been the guy to kind of just talk to people right away. So if I'm given the phone and they're like, hey, can you ring up this school and see if they have an esports team that wants to join in? I just kind of take the seriousness out of it and just bring it into a real casual conversation. So, I'm almost like talking to someone that I consider a friend right away. They may not see it like that. They may tell me to go away. But for me, I'm like, hey, buddy, how's it going? You want to join our esports league? And just kind of be really casual with it. When I left university, I worked for a year and a half as a business development manager, just straight cold calling. I do about 40 to 50 calls a day. And I was working for, so back in England, we have the FTSE, which is the top 500 companies. Over here, I think it's the Dow Jones or something.
We call them the Fortune 500.
Fortune 500, there you go. So I was calling into Fortune 500 companies, so big, like executive people. And that job really taught me to take the panic of calling people away. So it's second nature to me. I still can't do it in front of anyone. I have to leave the room, but I can still do it.
That's so funny. I'm exactly the same way. I cannot take a phone call in front of you. Like, you guys got to leave or I got to.
Yeah, it's even booking reservations for dinner. I'm like, all right, you want to go at 6? Let's go at 6. But I'm going to go in a different room, shut the door, and put the tap on, and then I'll make the call.
So part of the purpose of my show is to try to get advice from my guests that my audience can use.
Yeah.
And if you don't mind, I'd like to kind of drill down into this one in particular. We'll talk about other things, but calling is one of those things that so many people have such a difficulty with. And honestly, I haven't had anybody on my show before who actually talked a lot about cold calling. So what are some tactics you use? Like, what was it that got you over that nervousness or that fear?
Yeah, great question. The biggest tip I can give anyone that's doing cold calling is just to remember that the person on the other end of the phone is a person. Like, they woke up this morning, they had breakfast, they put their socks on, they may have not gone to the office now because of the pandemic, but they're at home. Maybe they've just fed their dogs and they've just gone on a walk. They're just like trying to get through their day as well. So if you can be kind of a calming voice on the other end of the phone, whether they want to take the call or not, it can really take some of that stress out of every day. One of the things I like to do is, just talk about how they're doing. Like, start off the conversation like, "Hi, I'm Tom. I'm calling from Philly Esports. I just want to check in how your esports team's going. What successes are you having? Where are you? Where do you need support? Oh, hey, and by the way, we'd love to get you involved in our league. Like, let's have a conversation about that further." A lot of people think with cold calling that you need a script to stick to and you have to be very regimented and you can't change from it. But people buy from people they like. People like the people that have sold to me on the phone are the people that have asked me, "How's my day going?" They asked me if I managed to catch the certain game. One of my things I love is at Christmas time, everyone gets really jolly. "Oh, what are you doing for Christmas? What's your plans for Christmas? How are you going to celebrate whatever holiday you celebrate at that time?" And I just think by being a person, being a normal everyday person makes cold calling easier. I'm going to admit it never gets easier to type the number in and press dial and listening to the rings and in your head going, "Please don't pick up, please don't pick up, please don't pick up." But the second they pick up, it's just, well, you have to have the conversation. Just remember at the end of the day, the call will end and you'll either have a yes or a no. But just be a person, be normal.
Beautiful.
Don't be normal.
I actually really appreciate that you mentioned the fact that you as you're dialing and as it's ringing, you're still freaking out.
I do it every time, and no matter what phone call I make, I'm still going, if you didn't pick up, that would be absolutely brilliant. I can just send you a text or an email. But yeah, just talk to them. That's all. Right. That's all it is.
So Tom, it's going to take you a couple of years to get your master's degree. What do you plan on doing after that?
So I actually graduate in May, so it's taken me a couple of years to get to this point. My plan is to really jump right into the esports scene. I'm an ambitious guy. I want to be someone in the industry. So I want to be at that point where, oh, hey, like we need something done. We know about this guy, this English guy that works for Philly Esports that could come and help us. And I just want to be, I want to be in the industry leading company, leading the development or the marketing or the operations, whatever it is. I have to be in esports. You know what I mean? I have to be part of the system that is pushing forward and really innovating.
I love it. That's an incredible amount of passion you have there. And it's actually a little rare to see someone kind of with that drive. So I'd like to ask you, what makes you special? What makes you different from, the average person who also says that they want to get into esports, but may not be pushing the envelope like that?
Yeah. It's a great question, because if I was to go back kind of 5 years and look at who I was a very different person that was in his shell and, was kind of just taking life as it came to him and going with the flow. And it's been recently since I really found a burning passion for esports that I've been like, okay, you know what? I have to do everything I can to get in this industry, whether I have to work for free, whether I have to work until 10 p.m., whether I'm taking calls at 7 a.m. I'm lucky I get up at 5 a.m. every day. So I can do calls early in the morning. It doesn't affect me. I live and breathe it. I watched the LCS from the very first season when Dragon Knights were a team of 5 long-haired, long-bearded people sat in a room, and I was like, these guys are cool. These guys, I don't care what anyone else said. They are playing video games and they are having fun, and that's cool. And I was like, if a team can make a qualify, I just, to backtrack slightly, I love the magic of esports that all you have to do is win a qualifying round. All you have to do is practice, win a qualifying round, and you can be up against a team that is a professional that you may not win, but you've had that experience, and it's like you want more. I used to play in a very you can't even call it semi-professional. A bunch of my mates, we got together and played League of Legends, and I used to enter us into random tournaments once, and we came up against AAA, which is All Against Authority, which was a pretty big team back in the European scene when it was growing up. And I remember that day looking at I can't remember what company it was. I think it was Battlefy, something like that. And looking at the brackets, I was going, oh my God, that's AAA. Like, they're just in a normal European Open tournament, and we've just been drafted against them. And then my friend phoned me, who was our mid laner, and was like, I'm on holiday, I can't go. I was going, well, no, we're not going to play against AAA, but that was a magical experience for just that moment. I know, I remember sitting there and hitting the withdraw button and going, this is okay, this is fine, this is fine. And then going to, get some food and going, this isn't okay, we could have played against AAA.
All right. So, Tom, I got a trash truck out the side of my window, but that's all good. About how long ago did you say that you began your dream toward getting into esports?
Esports has always been a passion of mine, but it wasn't until I'd say maybe 3 years ago that I realized it could have been a career. English esports versus American esports is very different. Us Brits are very sometimes stuck in a historical place where it's like, just get a job, just work, and get through it. And there's not much space for the new digital age unless there's a lot of investment. It's growing now. Talking about kind of when I was back at university, like there was no esports courses. There was no kind of esports teams really based in England. Fnatic had, some kind of growth, but there was no kind of local heroes or anyone that was making a space. Whilst over here, you've got the Overwatch League is headquartered over here. You have the COD League is now headquartered over here. I know we have British teams, we've got the Spitfires and we have the Royal Ravens and things like that. But it wasn't until kind of I really exposed myself to other elements of esports. I was like, wow, I bet these guys need business developers, and I bet they need marketing, and they need project management, and they need people that can talk and can sell and can create these things to help the team grow. I'd say the rise of TSM also was a real big influence for me, because I loved Dyrus back when he was the top laner, and I used to watch all the TSM videos, and I was like, wow, these guys are just dudes having fun. And then, you see them hiring a president and a director of sales and an accountant and a chief marketing officer. And now they have offices all around the country. I'm like, wow, this is a full company. Like I can be a part of this. I have to use my elements of loving business and loving sales, and I don't think anyone loves sales, but enjoying being a part of the system for sales and getting through it. And I have to be in the industry and working for it because it's fun. It's a hell of a lot of fun.
Okay, beautiful. Now, Tom, if you could go back in time with me to about 3 years ago, like you said, when you kind of really started down this journey, and you could talk to little Tom back then. Yeah. You go, little Tom, here's kind of how your journey is going to progress over the next 3 years. And here's what I would recommend to you. Yeah. What would you tell yourself in order to just kind of make it go faster, bigger, stronger?
That's a great question. Honestly, I don't know off the top of my head. Because I saw this question in the pack and I was like, that's a great question. I'll have to think of something. And I thought about it and now it's completely gone. I would say to just trust the process of passion kind of wins overall. And that, you may not have 10 years of experience. You're still pretty young, but if you show passion, people will respect that and give you the opportunity to grow yourself. So yeah, just trust the process, I'd say.
Absolutely. Now, I don't usually editorialize during these interviews, and
Sure.
I do want to say something here. Most other industries that I've worked in, I'm 34. People still look down on me because how young I am. And in the gaming space, the esports space particularly, being young is not the same kind of detriment. So, don't let anybody hold that against you, because, you can still have the same experience as someone who's running an esports team. Like it's, a lot of them are esports players who just kind of fell into it. They don't have any business experience. So if you go out and get a degree, you probably have more knowledge than they do.
Yeah, and that's been my game plan, is like, if I can go to these orgs, or push Philly Esports to the point of being the industry leader, like I have this degree knowledge. I may not be working in the industry for 5 years, but I have 2 years of sales experience, business development experience, and now I have a master's degree in business. And throughout all of that, I've had a passion for esports. I think I'm well worth the punt, as people would say.
All right, I love it. Now, Tom, I'm going to ask you a personal question if I can.
That's absolutely fine.
You are still fairly young, so you may not have a great example of this, but I believe that we learn the most in our life from our failures, not necessarily our successes. When you succeed, you may not realize what happened, and you just kind of like, oh, cool, I take the win. But when you lose or you fail, you have to kind of examine what happened in order to be able to move beyond it and try to succeed again. So I'd like to ask you, what do you consider your biggest failure in life, and what did you learn from it?
Yeah. So I have a kind of a personal one, and then I have a business one. So my personal one first was to never kind of just think it's okay because that's the way it is right now. I won't go into it too much, but I had a time in my life where I just assumed that this is the way it is, so this is the way it's going to be. But if you're not happy, then create the difference and be the difference to make yourself happy. That was one of my biggest failures, is really not seeing the bigger picture and kind of just tunnel visioning into, well, this is how it's going to be, this is how it is, so I just have to kind of release myself to it. And then in business, it's I am not a super organized person with some things. So my biggest failure in business so far has been not double checking things I knew I should have double checked, because I just assumed they would be okay. I was brought in once in an old job to take over an account from someone, and this account manager hadn't done a very good job keeping things neat, keeping things tidy, and talking to the client. And these guys were a big, I think they were something like $250 million spend a year. So they were a huge client, and I was brought into a client manager team, and I hadn't double checked the accounts. I hadn't double checked where everything was. And I was torn to shreds in that business meeting at 19 years old. So I was sat there going, I'm fine. This is fine. This is great. And then afterwards, I remember I went to the local cafe near my office, got a sandwich, looked over the river, and I just went, tears straight down my face. I was like, oh my God, why didn't I double check? I should have been more careful with this thing. And yeah, so if my biggest failure and advice is, if you own something in the business, own it completely. Take all the control you can for it. Make sure everything is okay. And if you need something, speak out to someone else to help you, because you will only fall on your own ass and hurt yourself.
That's some brilliant advice right there. Thank you so much for sharing that. Kind of on the flip side of that, what is something you're working to improve on in yourself today?
Yeah, so it's being straightforward is something I'm not always good at. I care about how people feel more than probably anything. I don't like upsetting people. I don't like hurting people's feelings, but sometimes things just need to be said. Sometimes like, if my graphic designer, Tyler, if you're listening, this is not you, I'm just using an example from when I was a graphic designer, but you make a graphic and you think it looks great, you send it out to the client, and then, or you're the client and you get it and you go, this is great, but I wish we could make these changes. Oh, but I don't want to upset them. Just say it, because if you make the changes, then you'll save yourself hurt later. I've done it myself, even recently, sending emails out to people and thinking, oh, I should have changed one thing, and you didn't change it, and then they're annoyed at you for that fact, and you're like, well, if you do the work now to save you the pain later, that is probably my my biggest help. Yeah, that's something I'm working to improve.
Okay, beautiful. One last fun question. All right.
Sure.
What is something that you think people misunderstand about you the first time they meet you?
Yeah, that's a good one. There's like 7 going off in my head right now. I'm thinking, say this one and say this one and say this one, but I'm trying to pinpoint. That I'm probably okay. That stress doesn't affect me as much as they think it does. I'm very good at my fiance will tell different, but I'm very good at kind of being everything is okay, and then like duck on water paddling underneath. But sometimes I really don't know what's going on, and I need to ask for help. But I'm very good at portraying everything's good. I'm good. Everything's under control. So yeah, that's probably one. That's probably one.
You're obviously good at sales. Just agree with the client, like, oh yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah, that's exactly what we can. Yeah, absolutely, we can do this. No worries. And then off the call, going, oh my god. So yeah.
All right, Tom, this has been a fantastic interview. Thank you so much. How do people find you? How do they reach out? Social media handles, emails, all that, please.
Yeah, sure. So the best way right now is just to find me on LinkedIn, which is Tom Screech. I believe I'm one of the only Tom Screeches on LinkedIn. I know I'm the only Tom Screech on Facebook. I don't have a Twitter right now. But yeah, I'd say LinkedIn, Discord. I will drop my Discord to you. So if you want to put it on the screen or whatever, you can. But yeah, LinkedIn or Discord is the best way.
Beautiful. All right. Now, as we wrap this up, do you have any final thoughts you want to share, or anything I didn't ask you think we still need to cover?
Nothing you didn't ask. Just a final thing to people that are looking to get into esports and don't know how, just message people in esports. I got my first step in by literally just sending a LinkedIn message to someone to talk. This industry may look scary on the outside and may look big and elitist in some ways, but they're some of the friendliest people I've certainly met. I send messages to the chief strategy officers at companies, and they'll get back to me, and then we'll have a nice conversation. Even the teams, Philadelphia Fusion are a great local team that I sent a message to the director of operations. We just had a chat, just had a conversation. So I'd say be confident in yourself and your ability, and just know that whatever you are looking to do in esports, there is almost definitely a space for you to fit in somewhere in some team, and everyone cares.
That's such wonderful advice.
Tom
Screech, thank you so much for coming on with us today. I genuinely do appreciate it.
You're more than welcome, man. It was absolutely brilliant.
All right. And for everybody else, I'm going to remind you all, don't be just a gamer, be a gamerpreneur.